forecast today?
Today's forecast, a lot of sunshine, blue skies, marine clouds. Just a perfect day to go outside and relax. That's your forecast. We'll be right back.
Yeah, sunny days, sunny days, sunny days. No clouds in the sky, but again, away feels like it's been a freaking decade.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Social Beaches. I'm Carolyn Smith.
And I'm Kelly Bowling.
We sell real estate along the Space Coast from Mims into Melbourne Beach, Melbourne, Vieira, Cocoa Beach, and into Indian River County, Vero Beach. And so if you're looking to buy or sell property, we would love to help you. You can reach us at 321-422-2160 or by email at hello@coastalestateteam.com. And we'd love to hear from you. So today we're going to talk about tipping, which is a hot topic.
It really is right now.
Yeah. So we have been seeing a lot of chatter about what do you tip, when do you tip, do you have to tip, who do you have to tip, and how much do you tip, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was born and raised to a set of parents who said, 20%. That's like the golden standard, 20% to tip. And you did it when you went out to a sit-down restaurant and you were eating.
Yep.
Your hairdresser.
Yes.
That was really honestly it. Or if, you had
My
somebody
dad
was
always
you with your
tipped at
bags.
Christmas. He tipped the garbage guys and the postmen and, any service people that worked for us or did things for us on a regular basis. My dad tipped them at Christmas.
Your dad was rich, I think.
I wasn't, but
my parents did not do that, but yeah. But we also lived in a rural area, so we didn't have garbage men.
Yeah.
My dad was a garbage man. We didn't have a postman. We had to go to the post office.
Well, there you
So
go. That's
maybe
why.
that's why.
That's why.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, and my parents were like 20% was like great service. Like 15% was average service and 10% was poor service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Well, I feel like to do it correctly or to do it well, you have to have been in a position where you were getting tips. Working as a server.
Yes.
I know you did at one point,
yes,
so did
all
I.
through college. That was my career in college. I worked waiting tables all through college. And I mean, 20%, if you got 20% and an average of 20% for the night, you were doing great. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah. But now what we're seeing is, so I first noticed it in places like, I think Panera was the first place that I really noticed.
Yes.
Like they turn the little screen around or the screen's there and they're like, do you want to leave a tip? And I'm like, for who? Who am I leaving a tip for?
Is it for the girl that took the order? Is it for the people that made my order?
Yeah.
I usually got it wrong.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And they give you like one slice of turkey on your sandwich, but that's another story.
That's a whole different episode.
Yeah, that's another episode. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so, and then really, I think the next was kind of Starbucks, where Starbucks got into the, you order a coffee, went to Starbucks, and I don't know. And then I feel like, well, then I have to tip.
Because if the option's being presented to you, then they must expect a tip.
Yeah.
I will be honest. I rarely do at Starbucks. Every now and again, because I do love the people at our local Starbucks. Yeah. They're amazing. They always remember my order, and now they don't even ask me, do I need a straw? Because I know I'm going to tell them no.
Yeah.
But, just the little things that they'll remember and pick up on. So then, yes, I will, every now and again, I'll throw them the maximum I think that you are allowed in the app that I've ever seen was like a few dollars. So you can't. There's no option to customize the tip that I've seen. So it's
it's like $1, $2, or $5 maybe.
They're
or
low
something
tips.
like that.
So, but I do wonder how those are split.
I asked at Starbucks, and I said, because they don't know. Okay. By the way,
they can't tell.
They can't tell.
They don't get like a little. At like Cold Stone, when you tip, they start singing the song.
Yeah.
They
don't know, because I said to the girl when I did the pickup, because I thought that, they have the little tip jar right there. And I thought, they don't know, or do they know, that I put it on the app because I mobile ordered.
Right.
And so I asked the girl, and she said, no, we don't know. And at the end of the shift or something, there's some, I don't know if the computer does it or whatever, and it just divides it out between the people who work there.
Working. Well, that seems fair.
Yeah.
They do work very much as a team. I've never seen one person just kind of hanging out in the back, doing nothing. They're all so busy.
I think they would get yelled at.
For sure.
But there is, so I saw something, and you've experienced it, where when you go to a doctor's office, somebody who works in the doctor's office then is asking for tips. And I have not experienced that. And I was like, what? That makes no sense.
Yeah. So it's a medical aesthetics and plastic surgery office. So they have multiple procedures they're doing there. They do offer like chemical peels and facial type procedures.
Yeah.
But it's also like they do surgery there. So no matter who you saw or what you have done there, you could be in there for like skin cancer, right? So no matter what you're having done, if you're paying, they're flipping the tablet around to you so you can sign. But before that, there's the tip or no tip. I mean, you can hit no tip. You do have that option. And I will tell you, I don't feel bad about hitting no tip every single time at that office.
I think it's insanity.
I mean, it's the doctor's office. I feel like pay your practitioners what they should be making, and they shouldn't be relying on tips. That's how I feel about that.
Tips are weird. Like you think about servers, they're getting less than minimum wage, right? They have their own minimum wage for servers. Right. So if you work in a restaurant and you're a waiter or waitress, you are getting below what most people think of as the minimum wage, because there's a special minimum wage for servers. Yes. So you're getting that. You're relying on tips just to get you up. Right. To what most people would know as the minimum wage. As
a regular minimum wage.
These people are being paid by the physician, by whoever. They should be getting paid their full rate. They shouldn't be getting a tip. Now, if let's say you went and got a facial and they did something amazing, whatever, and you wanted to give them a little extra, okay, fine. But to have it on the checkout, because people feel bad. Like I feel bad when it says, "Do you want a tip?" I always feel like
have to say no.
Yeah, no.
Well, I will say, the other question is, okay, let's say that you are going to somebody who owns their service.
Yes.
So it's a hairdresser that has their own salon, or a nail artist that has her own space, right? She owns the business. And then you're paying, I'll use the example, the place that I get my nails done at, they will take credit cards, but she prefers to be paid by Venmo or Zelle or whatever, right? Because it just goes straight in.
Right.
So she's not asking for tips, right?
Right.
But because I've been so conditioned to like, that's a service provider and I have to tip 20%, even though she set her price for what she wants to earn for that amount of time that she's working, I'm always tipping 20%. And I'm like, am I supposed to? But I don't want to ask the question, like, do you expect me to give you a tip? Do I get better service because she knows I always tip her? Maybe. I don't know.
That's true for where I get my nails done and my hairdresser.
Yeah,
both.
same.
They own their own. Now the hairdresser
and the place
obviously
where you
rents.
get your facial.
Yes.
And same for me.
They rent the space, but they're their own. They're not paying someone else.
Like they're not paying a
a head person who runs the business.
They're not just getting
business.
Paid a commission for the
or a set rate. Like you only get
owner.
X dollars. So they've set the rate for the service. They should include everything they want, inclusive.
I've actually seen some hairdressers on TikTok that will talk about this. They're like, you don't have to tip me because this is how much my time is worth. So I'm making what my time is worth. And I guess anything over and above that is great. Yeah. But it would be nice to have some clarity.
It would be nice, and it would be nice if all the tipping thing stopped. So what brought this topic to mind for me was a girl did a TikTok and she said she went wedding dress shopping. Okay. And the girl helped her, whatever, and she went to check out. She ended up buying the dress there, and she went to check out, and it asked her for a tip.
She was buying
wedding dress. And she's like, she said, I just sat there like, first of all, I don't know how much to tip. Like, do you tip a percentage? You know how much wedding dresses are.
You ain't getting 20% for me for that.
So she's like, and why am I tipping her? Like, she's a salesperson. She's not serving me per se. She's a salesperson in the store. She earns commission, you would think, off a percentage of the whatever she sells or however they pay her.
Right.
But like, how do you tip her? Like, I could see if somebody spent an extraordinary amount of time with you, was wonderful to you, you were dress shopping, and you wanted to just give them an extra, I don't know, $20 or something. Here's lunch. Go buy lunch or coffee.
I would like to carry the square around with me. So, the next time
you bought a house?
Amazing service, tip please.
Tip your realtor. We could put that on the Ulta, the tip for your realtor.
They're like, y'all already get paid too much. I mean, I can hear the comments now. For doing absolutely nothing. What do I even need a realtor for? When Zillow does it all for me.
Zillow does it all.
They do everything for you.
They do everything. I don't understand why people have realtors. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. I saw another video. It was like drive-through Chick-fil-A situation.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know that it was Chick-fil-A, but
Yeah, I don't think they take tips at Chick-fil-A.
I don't think they do either. But it was like a drive-through, like fast food kind of style, and the girl's giving her order to like the boy that's taking her order, and then he's like, "Oh, one more thing before you go," and he's holding this big screen TV. It's a joke, right? And he turns it around, and there's like paper, like stickies on there that says tip, like 10%, 15%, 20%, no tip at the bottom. And he's like, she's trying to hit no tip, and he's angling the TV towards the 20%, and she's like, would you just hold still? So it's, just talking about how ridiculous and frequently you're being asked to tip. And
yes.
What about takeout? So drive-through, definitely not.
So takeout, I do 10% minimum, and sometimes I do 20% on takeout, which seems insane, but I feel like the new normal in a restaurant is 30%.
Yeah,
like I
you might be
normally
right,
tip
yeah.
30% to servers now.
Yeah.
And for excellent service, I will tip more than 30%. Like to me, 20% is a bad tip.
It's like the thing of the past. You got to go above and beyond now.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So
I don't go out to eat very often, so it's a good thing.
So for takeout, what do you think?
I always do, but I feel like you shouldn't have to, because like
they say that's a person. It goes to the people
they
who
are sharing. So a server does have to split their tips at the end of the night with like the bartender and the kitchen staff, right?
But they say the person who's doing the like takeout prep, so they get all the food and they box it up for you,
so that's
and
like
they get
server.
the sides, and they
your that's fair enough. Or if you're doing curbside and they have to bring it out to you, so that you don't have to get out of your car. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just really depends. Like, is my order ready when you said it would be? Because if it's not, I might not want to tip you.
Like Starbucks this morning. I just wanted everyone to know we waited an extra 12 minutes. We were late for
They were it's cold outside. Everybody wants the hot things this morning.
And they were short a person.
Yeah, because, all the funk and sickness is going around.
Yes. So, yeah. But, and the other thing I think we wanted to talk about was this whole roundup option when you check out. So, like, I feel like it's at TJ Maxx, it's at Publix, it's at every store where you are buying goods.
Even online, some places, do you want to round up to save whatever?
Yeah. It's like for Save the Children or Feed the Poor or whatever, which sounds great. And some of them are not just round up. Like, do you want to give money? And they'll give you options like $5 or $10 or whatever. It's not even a round up thing. Mm-hmm. And it sounds good. And I usually do, when it asks me to round up, if I like the store and I like whatever the charity is, I will do it.
And if it's only like 14 cents.
But the question is, are they doing that? Are they taking the tax deduction?
Of course they are.
So you're giving them money and they're saying, we donated whatever tens of thousands of dollars, and they're taking it as a tax deduction, but it was your money.
Right, yes.
Which, by the way, I don't think you can take a tax deduction for that.
You don't have a receipt.
Yeah.
So you have no way to do that. So, no. I feel like if you want to donate money to a charity, you should just do that. Write a check out of your account so that you can take the write-off.
Yeah. And now we're not saying like you shouldn't donate because you can't get a write-off. We're not really saying that, but there is a benefit that you don't pay taxes on your donations.
Right.
So your donations to charity, basically the government says, if you're donating to a charity, you don't have to pay taxes on that.
Right.
So,
and I get that a little bit does add up, so they're able to make a big impact because they do get a lot of people, and it's a lot more impact than you can make by writing that 14-cent check out. Obviously, but
my 14 cents counts
if you keep doing it every time you go. They also will do the thing where if you add $5 to your total, like at Publix, then you can get these canned goods to donate to whatever. I do that too.
Every time they do it, the
or
peanut butter and jelly or whatever.
Book that has coupons for stuff you're never going to buy.
But they'll have the peanut butter and jelly up at the register, and they're like, if you buy you can pick a peanut butter and jelly, and then you put it in the bin, and they donate that.
Yeah,
so I will do that.
Yeah, I've done that before too.
Yeah. It's just hard because you're like, okay, well, everybody's asking, and when you start adding up all these little extra monies, it can add up to, $30, $40 more dollars a month. Yeah. It really can. Yeah. And do we have that?
I don't know. Well, so this leaves the final question, I guess, is where is the weirdest place, the oddest place you've ever been asked for a tip or been presented with a screen that has that question? Do you want a no tip or whatever the percentage is? So what's the oddest place? I'm thinking for me, it has to be the doctor's office. To me,
Yeah.
that's just weird.
I don't think I've been asked for a tip anywhere weird. I feel like I'm weird because at Christmas, I feel like I have to tip. Like, did I tip the lawn guy? Did I tip the pest control guy? The water delivery. So when they,
that
because
sounds
we have
heavy.
like water in the office, and he has to carry this in, and it's like, did you tip that guy? Because it is
What
heavy.
about the poor UPS and FedEx drivers, all those Amazon orders?
Now, I will say when I used to have my construction business and we had like an office and they came in every day,
Yeah.
we always tipped them
Yeah.
at Christmas. Always. Like we got them a gift and we tipped them. But now I feel like,
Different drivers all the time.
and you're not necessarily home. They're leaving it at your
true.
doorstep. Like
Yeah.
there, they were coming in the office and
Well,
we
then,
could
you know,
tip
you can
them.
also tip them with the snacks that people leave out in the holiday season.
Yes.
Some people do that year round. Snacks and
Yes,
drinks.
Jen does
and
it
things
year
like
round,
that.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice gesture.
Yeah.
I need to be better about that because, like, I would be leaving it at my front door, and a lot of times they're not wanting to climb the stairs, depending on what it is, too.
Yes.
If it's super heavy, they're not
Yeah.
lifting that up. They're just going to drop it at the bottom and let us deal with it,
Yeah.
which is fine. Like, we don't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll take things to the top that are meant for the bottom, and I'm like, well, that was so nice, and now we have to carry it back down.
Yes,
But,
and not
yeah.
fall. Yeah. So I think but I think the weirdest is the doctor's office. To me, when I heard about the doctor's office, and then when we were talking about it and you said you've been asked, I find that I would be a no. I would be interested to know what everyone thinks.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I would be a definite no on the doctor's office.
Yeah, for sure. But if we're wrong, explain to us why we're wrong.
Yes.
Like, don't just tell us we're dumb and stupid. There's a lot of that going
We
on.
hear that anyway,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay.
So I think that's it for
That
this
is
one.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. So we will see you guys next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's